I never thought I'd be the guy writing something like this, but here I am. My name's Dave, and I've been married to Emily for about 8 years now. We met in college, got hitched pretty quick, a typical suburban love story, I guess. At first, everything was perfect. She was beautiful, smart, funny. We had a good life, a nice house, decent jobs. But as I look back, I realized there were little signs that something was off, little cracks in the facade of our perfect marriage. Emily started changing a few months ago. She became more irritable, snapping at me over small things, and I'd catch her sneaking her phone away when she thought I wasn't looking. She'd lie about where she was going, just a yoga class. She'd say one day, then the next, it was a meeting with a friend, even though I'd never heard of anyone she knew. She'd say it was just me time, but her attitude about it was weird, defensive, almost bitchy when I questioned her. I didn't want to jump to conclusions, but I felt like I was missing something. One night I was craving sushi, so I decided to order takeout from the place across the street. I was sitting on the couch, scrolling through my phone when I saw her car pull into the parking lot of the yoga studio. It struck me as odd because she'd told me she was working late that night. I thought maybe she'd lied again. But then I saw her get out and I froze. She wasn't alone. She was with a guy. Not just any guy, her yoga instructor, Luke. I'd seen him around a couple of times. He was that tall, fit guy with a perpetual smirk. They got into his car right in front of the studio. At first I thought maybe I was imagining things. Maybe she was just saying hi to a friend or something. But then I noticed how they kept talking, how she kept leaning into him, her hand on his knee, laughing at something he said. The way she looked at him like she was just waiting for her chance to get some. My stomach sank. I felt like I'd been punched in the gut. I sat there watching them through my window, helpless and furious all at once. I could believe Emily, my wife, was cheating on me with her yoga instructor, the guy who's supposed to help her find peace, not fuck her in his car after class. I never expected her to be so selfish, so cruel. That night I just sat there, staring at the screen, feeling this mix of shock, betrayal, and an overwhelming sense of loss. I kept telling myself it's probably nothing, maybe I was misreading it. But deep down, I knew I'd seen enough. I could feel it in my bones, my wife was cheating on me, and I had no idea for how long. The worst part was that she'd lied about everything as usual. She always made herself the victim, always spun some bullshit story to cover her tracks. I didn't want to jump to conclusions, but I knew I'd have to confront her soon. I just didn't know how brutal that confrontation would get, or what I'd do once I found out the truth for sure. The next few days were a nightmare. I kept replaying that night over and over. The sight of Emily getting into Luke's car, her laugh, the way she touched him like she was craving something she couldn't get at home. I tried to tell myself maybe I was overreacting, maybe she was just a friend, maybe it was innocent, but everything inside me screamed otherwise. I couldn't shake the image, and I couldn't ignore the gut feeling that my wife had been lying to me for months. I started walking on eggshells. Tried to confront her, but she was so bitchy about everything. Every time I brought up how she's been acting different, she'd flick her hair back and roll her eyes. "You're just paranoid," she'd say with that condescending tone. "You always think the worst. I have a life outside of you, you know. I have friends, I need my space." Yeah, I get it, she needs her space to cheat in her yoga class, apparently. I felt like an idiot, honestly. She'd brush me off, tell me I was insecure, accuse me of not trusting her. Well, how could I trust someone who'd hide things from me, who'd go behind my back and cheat while telling me she's too busy to talk? I started noticing more signs. Her phone always locked, her trips to the gym stretching longer than usual, her quick trips to the bathroom in the middle of the night, the way she snapped at me when I asked what she was doing, her dismissive attitude when I tried to get close. I even caught her in a little lie once. She said she was at a book club, but I saw the same yoga pants she wore that day at the studio. I didn't say anything at first, just kept quiet and watched. That's when I decided I needed to dig deeper, find out exactly how deep this thing went. I started following her, just small steps, nothing crazy. I'd wait outside the gym in my car, watching her leave with Luke. One night I saw them park in a lot behind the studio. I parked nearby, hiding behind a row of bushes. I saw her get out, lean into Luke's window, whisper something I couldn't hear. Then they both got out, and she looked around to make sure no one was watching. That's when I saw her go into his car and they disappeared for a good 20 minutes. When they came out, she was smiling, breathless, like she just had the best sex of her life. My stomach turned. I didn't need more proof. What I'd seen was enough to confirm my biggest fears. I was furious. I felt betrayed, humiliated, disgusted. How could she do this to me? After everything we built, she's out there fucking her yoga instructor in his car while I'm at home, clueless, waiting for her to come back and pretend nothing's wrong. I wanted to confront her right then and there, but I knew better. I had to plan my move carefully. If I confronted her without proof, it'd just turn into a fight and she'd spin some bullshit story that I'd never believe. But I was done pretending. I was done being the fool in this whole mess. I needed to catch her in the act, or at least get her to admit it. I decided I'd wait for the right moment, gather everything I needed, then lay it all out. I didn't sleep much that night. Instead, I kept thinking about how I was going to handle this. How I was going to make her regret ever crossing me. The worst part is, I still loved her, or at least I thought I did. That love felt shattered, now replaced by this burning desire for revenge. I'd never felt so helpless and angry at the same time. I knew I was heading into a storm and I wasn't sure if I'd come out the same. But one thing was clear. Emily had pushed me to the edge and I was ready to fight back. The days that followed felt like walking through a fog. Every time I saw Emily, I could see the lies behind her eyes, the way she avoided my gaze, the subtle smirks when she thought I wasn't paying attention. She kept up her bitchy attitude, dismissing my concerns as insecurities or paranoia. But I knew better. I had seen enough. I kept my cool outwardly, but inside I was boiling. I had decided I'd get her to admit something, but I knew I had to be careful. If I rushed her, she'd just lie her way out of it. I needed proof that she couldn't deny. So I started paying closer attention, sneaking around, gathering whatever I could. I planted a little voice recorder in her purse, just to catch her off guard. I stayed out of her way, acting like everything was normal, but secretly I was planning my move. I watched her every move, every text, every suspicious trip. One day I caught her slipping her phone into her purse when I walked into the room. The notifications were turned off, but I saw the message preview, something about "can't wait to see you again," sent from Luke. That was all I needed. I couldn't believe how brazen she was being. She was out there, supposedly, working late, but I had proof she was sneaking off to cheat. I felt a mix of rage and heartbreak. How did it come to this? I thought about all the times we'd argued, the quiet moments I thought were just normal disagreements. Turns out she was screwing around behind my back, making a fool of me. I wanted to scream, wanted to shake her and demand an explanation, but I knew I had to hold back. This was just the beginning. That night, I finally confronted her. I sat her down in the living room, trying to keep my voice steady, but inside I was trembling. I told her I knew everything, about her trips, her texts, her secret meetings. Her face twisted into a sneer. And she shot back with all the usual bullshit: "You're crazy, you're overthinking, you're just insecure and you're jealous." But I didn't buy it. I saw her sweat, her frantic eyes, her guilty nerves. I told her I had proof, her text messages, the voice recordings, the times I followed her. Her reaction was classic: denial at first, then anger, then outright bitchiness. She tried to gaslight me, telling me I was imagining things, that I was paranoid and controlling. She even claimed Luke was just a friend, that we had a connection, but that it was innocent. I looked at her and just shook my head. I'd never felt so betrayed. That was the moment I realized she'd been lying to me for months, maybe longer. That she'd been screwing around, lying about her me time and workouts. All so she could sneak off to get her fix. I felt a heavy weight in my chest, like I'd been punched again. I couldn't believe I married someone capable of such deceit. But here's the thing, I was angry, yes, but I also felt deeply hurt. I'd given her everything, my love, my trust, my life, and she'd thrown it all away for some meaningless sex in Luke's car. That thought haunted me. I started thinking about all the moments I'd shared with her, all the plans we'd made. And now it felt like none of it mattered. She'd lied, she'd betrayed me, and now I had to decide whether this marriage was worth saving or if I needed to cut my losses. But one thing was clear: I wasn't going to let her get away with it. Not without consequences. Not without making her feel the pain she'd caused me. I couldn't sleep that night. I kept replaying her words, her lies, all the things she said to deny it. I felt angry, humiliated, and broken all at once. But deep down, I knew I had to do something. I had to set things straight, even if it meant destroying what little trust was left. I was ready for whatever came next. I just hoped I had the strength to see it through. The next morning, I woke up with a clarity I hadn't felt in days. I knew I couldn't keep pretending everything was fine, not after what I'd uncovered. I was furious, hurt, and honestly, some part of me just wanted to make her pay. But I also knew I had to be strategic. Confrontation was one thing, but setting the stage for the next move, for real consequences, that's what mattered now. I spent the day cleaning my head, gathering my thoughts, and plotting how I was going to make her realize she'd crossed a line she couldn't come back from. I decided I'd play it cool for a while longer, act like I didn't know the full extent of her betrayal. I went about my day, pretending everything was normal, but inside I was boiling. I called in sick from work, not because I was actually sick, because I knew I'd need all the time I could get to plan my next steps. I started secretly recording her again, just in case she slipped up further. I also made copies of the evidence I'd collected, screenshots of the texts, the recordings, everything I had. I wanted her to see I wasn't bluffing. Once I had enough, I knew I'd confront her again, but this time with everything laid out on the table. That evening, she was her usual bitchy self, throwing attitude at me when I asked about her day. I kept my tone calm, almost cold. I told her I knew about her secret meetups, her texts with Luke, everything. I pointed out how she'd lied, how she'd betrayed me. Her face turned red with fury and she started spitting out bullshit. "You're crazy," she snapped. "You're just jealous because I'm better than you," she said with that sneer. I looked straight at her and said, "You think I don't know what you've been doing? I've got the proof. You've been sneaking around behind my back, lying through your teeth." She looked at me like I was crazy at first, then her expression twisted into pure rage. She tried to deny everything, but I just laughed. "You can lie all you want, Emily. It doesn't change the fact that I know you've been screwing Luke in his car after class." That's when she finally snapped. She told me I was a control freak, that I was ruining her life, that I was jealous and insecure and nothing special. She said she needed her freedom, that I was suffocating her. But I was buying any of her bullshit anymore. I told her I was done. Done playing the fool, done pretending she was innocent. That's when she started crying, fake tears streaming down her face, trying to look innocent. But I saw right through her. I saw the bitch she really was. I told her I wanted a divorce. I told her I was done wasting my life on someone who didn't respect me, who cheated and lied and betrayed every promise she made. She yelled at me, calling me all kinds of names, accusing me of being possessive, of ruining her life. But I didn't care. I was finally free from the shackles of her lies. I looked her dead in the eyes and told her I'd make sure everyone knew what she did. I'd make her regret crossing me. That night she packed her bags and left, still crying and yelling, but her tears meant nothing to me anymore. I felt a strange mixture of relief and deep sadness. Relief because I finally knew the truth. Sadness because I'd lost the woman I thought I knew. But I also felt empowered, like I'd taken back control, like I'd shown her that cheating, lying, and being a bitch wouldn't go unpunished. I wasn't sure what the future held, but I knew I wasn't going to be the fool anymore. I'd rebuild somehow. From this mess, I'd find a way to move on stronger, wiser, and maybe a little more cautious about trusting anyone again. After Emily left, I sat alone in the silent house that suddenly felt huge and empty. The weight of everything hit me all at once. Her betrayal, the lies, the long months of secretly spying and pretending I didn't see what was right in front of my eyes. I felt a mixture of relief and heartbreak, but mostly I just felt numb. I kept replaying her words, her sneering voice, and the image of her in Luke's car. It was like I'd been knocked out, and now I was slowly coming to, realizing I'd been played for a fool. The following days were a blur. I started to process the betrayal, trying to figure out what I'd do next. I knew I couldn't just sweep this under the rug, not after everything I'd seen and heard. I talked to a lawyer, started looking into divorce options. Honestly, I wasn't even mad anymore. I was just exhausted. I'd spent so much time caring, trusting, loving, only to get stabbed in the back like this. But at the same time, I was pissed. Pissed that she thought she could get away with it, that she could lie and cheat while I was at home, waiting for her to come back and pretend everything was okay. One thing I learned from all this is that people are capable of some cold, ruthless shit when they think they're untouchable. Emily was a perfect example. She lied, manipulated, gaslit me, all to hide her affair. And for what? Some cheap sex in Luke's car. I never felt so used, so disrespected. But I also realized I wasn't going to be anyone's punching bag. I deserved better. She made her choice, and now I had to make mine. I started focusing on myself. I hit the gym more often, took long walks, and started reconnecting with friends I'd neglected. Honestly, it was hard, like trying to rebuild a life from scratch. I couldn't help but think about what I could have done differently, what I should have seen coming. But I also knew that some things aren't your fault, they're just part of life's shitty lessons. And this was one of those lessons. You can't trust everyone, even the ones you love most. Looking back, I see the signs now. The secretive behavior, the lies, her bitchy attitude when I asked questions. I wish I'd had the courage to confront her earlier, to dig deeper. Maybe I could have saved myself some pain. But then again, maybe not. Some people are just wired to cheat, to lie, to manipulate. I've learned that the hard way. Now I see her for what she really was, a selfish, lying bitch who thought she could do whatever she wanted without consequences. Well, she's getting her consequences now. I guess what I want to say to anyone reading this is, trust your gut. Don't ignore the signs, no matter how much you love someone. If they're hiding things, lying to you, sneaking around, that's a red flag. And when you catch them, don't let them gaslight you or make you feel crazy. Stand up for yourself. Because at the end of the day, you deserve honesty and respect. I may have lost someone I thought was my everything, but I gained clarity, and that's worth more than any betrayal. I'll move on, rebuild, and find happiness again. I just hope everyone out there remembers. Don't ignore the signs and never let someone treat you like a fool. It's been a few weeks since Emily left, and honestly, I feel like I've finally started to breathe again. The house is quieter, emptier, but somehow that silence is peaceful. I don't wake up wondering if she's sneaking out or if she's with Luke again. I don't have that gnawing feeling in my stomach, that constant suspicion. For the first time in a long while, I feel like I can start rebuilding my life on my own terms. Looking back, I realize how blind I was. I see all the moments I brushed off, all the little signs I ignored because I didn't want to believe she'd do something so callous. But now I know better. Trust is fragile, and once broken, it's almost impossible to repair. I learned that the hard way. But I also learned that I'm stronger than I thought. Betrayal hurts like hell, but it also teaches you who you really are. Since the breakup, I've been focusing on myself, therapy, new hobbies, reconnecting with old friends. I've come to terms with the fact that some people just aren't meant for us, no matter how much we want them to be. Emily was my wife, my partner, the person I thought I knew. Turns out she was just pretending all along. And that's okay. It hurts, but it's better to know the truth now than to keep living in that fake world she created. I've also realized that revenge isn't really about hurting her, it's about reclaiming my dignity. I don't want to be a victim anymore. I don't want to spend my days obsessing over what she did or what she's doing. I want to move forward, learn from this, and be better. I want to trust again someday, but this time more cautiously. So for anyone out there going through something similar, don't ignore the signs. Trust your instincts. Don't let yourself be played for a fool. And when the truth comes out, face it head on. It's going to hurt like hell, but in the end, you'll come out stronger. You'll find your way, and maybe, just maybe, you'll come to see that some betrayals are just lessons in disguise. Life's too short to dwell on the pain. Focus on healing, on growth, and on never letting someone treat you like a fool again. That's the real victory.